Okay, you know what? Yes, sorry. Of course I just talked to you, but
Tell him that we will be visiting in the city. I hope he gets Oh, I do have some. I was hoping that my professor tomorrow would just cancel class. Because it's my only class tomorrow at 9:30. And it's 50 minutes long. So I can just go home. But we have a big job tomorrow, so you're not canceling. So I can just think about it's like, I'm supposed to read I tried to last, but it was like, I have so many things that I thought I was going to do today, and then I did, and none of them.
Hey everyone, we'll be getting started here in just a couple minutes.
You probably started. Yes.
If somebody filled out $60, I'd be like, we don't even need to do it. Oh my god. My class tomorrow is must it be my girl's father? Then I'd be like, maybe that's what I would. That's not like
It's honestly not me.
We could always go on. Yeah, no, I get that. But she just like doesn't interact with them at all.
Okay, that's why I didn't. Yeah. Okay. Because Julia was like, I used to really know.
So I think I
I did that one. I did that one. I did it. Yeah.
people like really do not want to ever go to
I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Actually, just kidding. We are going to forego that because we have a special ceremony coming later tonight. I forgot that the flag is not present. Don't you all worry. All right, I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, March 10th, 2022 with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations, the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. And with that, we'll go into first roll call.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Blake. Bain.
Here.
Bannister.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Binkley.
Here.
Blood.
Here.
Booz.
Here.
Byrne. Kahlo. Compton.
Here.
Cranford. DeMott. Doc.
Here.
Dunlap. Ansero.
Here.
Eslinger. Fields.
Here.
Fuss. Gann.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Heatherman. Holland.
Here. Here.
Hutzel.
Here.
Jambunathan.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Kramer. Lister. Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Marquez. Mayer.
Here.
McPhee.
Here.
Nelson. Pineda Gomez.
Here.
Pondillo.
Here.
Porter.
Here.
Prester.
Present.
Richenberg.
Here.
Riffle.
Here.
Rook.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Salmon.
Here.
Scharnhorst.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Schindler.
Here.
Splekel.
Here.
Stout.
Here.
Sitzma.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Volgamore.
Yeehaw!
Wallace. Warren.
Also yeehaw.
Willis Jackson.
Here.
And Willis Reese.
Here.
Alrighty.
All right, with that, I'm actually going to ask that we jump a little bit out of order for tonight because I know that we have some guests with us. So with that, we're going to move into commendations really quick. And first up, we have Resolution 53. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 53? Senator Glasscock.
Move to consider Resolution 53.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 53. Austin, will you please come forward?
All right, Resolution 212253, commendation to the City of Manhattan, Kansas, and the City of Dobricovice, Czech Republic. Authors myself and Alexa Shear, sponsored by Luke Kramer. Whereas Manhattan, Kansas has been sister cities with the city of Dobrukovice, Czech Republic since April 2006, whereas this April marks the 16th anniversary of this partnership. Whereas this relationship has created a continuous sharing of cultural, educational, youth, and civic understanding and friendship between the two cities. Whereas the Manhattan School District engages in this partnership by hosting online video teleconferencing with the citizens of Dobrukovice. Whereas K-State has historically hosted students from the Czech Republic, and K-State students have studied abroad in the Czech Republic. Whereas since 2008, Megan E. Taylor Czech Republic Student Award has ensured a greater international exchange between the Czech Republic and K-State, awarding 51 K-State and Czech students scholarships to study abroad. Whereas this initiative to create this partnership was spearheaded by former K-State professor and Czech citizen Joseph Barton Dobinin. Whereas Joseph Barton Dobinen's life was uprooted by the Nazis during World War II, forcing him to flee to the United States using a Bulgarian passport purchased on the black market. And whereas K-State should continue to support and recognize relationships like this to further foster a sense of community, diversity, and civic engagement at an international level. Be it resolved that the Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends and will continue to show support for this unique and important partnership. A presentation ceremony of both the American and Czech flags will be conducted by K-State AFROTC during Student Senate, along with the playing of both countries' respective national anthems. Nick, I'm sorry for this part. Upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Kansas State University President Richard Linton, former Kansas State University professor Joseph Barton Dobinin, President of the Czech Republic Miloš Zeman, President of the United States Joseph R. Biden, Mayor of Manhattan Linda Morse, Mayor of Dobrukovice Peter Hampel, Governor of Kansas Laura Kelly, Prime Minister of the Czech Republic Peter Fiala, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, United States Ambassador to the Czech Republic Jennifer Baucus, Czech Republic Ambassador to the United States Hinek Komaníček, United States Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez, United States Ambassador to the United States Linda Thomas Greenfield, Czech Republic Ambassador to the United States Marie Chotardova, Kansas State University ROTC Detachment Commander Lieutenant Colonel Rob Light, Kansas State University AFROTC Detachment Commander Lieutenant Colonel Garrett Hogan, Kansas State University ROTC Cadet Max Train, and Kansas State University AFROTC Cadet Tara Cutler.
All right, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Chair Long.
Two things. First, where did you find this?
So I was in City Park, and there is a Czech Republic flag in City Park commending the relationship between the two cities. And the whole story of how it came to be is posted on a plaque in City Park. So, yeah.
And then second, on 22 should be the Megan E. Taylor Award.
All right.
Right?
Got that down. Any further questions or corrections? Director Kulkarni.
Yeah, real quick. I was just wondering if an invitation for this ceremony was extended to Czech Republic students.
It was. I reached out to the International Student Center, and I forwarded them an email letting all Czech international students know about the ceremony, and they were invited. I don't think any of them showed up, but yes, they were informed and invited.
Fine, thank you.
Any further questions or corrections? Senator Compton.
Could you send out a sponsorship for this?
Yes, I can do that. Senator Glasscock.
Line 50, Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Would you want to specify of where he is the Secretary of State?
Yes, that's probably a good idea.
All right, I got that down as well. Any further questions or corrections? Seeing none, I will seek a motion to approve Resolution 53 unanimously. Chair Long.
I motion to approve Resolution 53 unanimously. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 53 unanimously. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Resolution 53 will stand approved. All right, you may be seated, everyone. Awesome. Thank you so much, and big shout out to Austin for organizing that, and thank you very much to our guests from the Air Force Loyalties. Alrighty. With that, we will go ahead and jump back in order for our agenda, and we will move into first open period. And tonight we have our award ceremony. So if Nick, Michael, and Maggie, if you all want to join me up front, I know we have a few other people gone as well, but we will go ahead and start the ceremony. Alrighty, welcome everyone. So, every year when we have SGA, or on the very last meeting of our SGA term, we do some recognition and awards. So first of all, while we're getting our PowerPoint pulled up, I wanted to take a minute to recognize anyone who was on the Senate Executive Committee, whether that was a committee chair, independent position, whatever the case may be. If y'all just want to stand really quick, or if you're on Zoom, go ahead and unmute. We just want to recognize you all for leading your committees throughout the year, and being in your positions this year and serving students in that way. It was a big job this year, so if you'll go ahead and stand super quick, we'll go ahead and give a round of applause to everyone. Awesome. Thank you all for your really hard work this year. I really appreciate it, and I know that everyone else really appreciates it as well. So, as we get the PowerPoint pulled up, sorry, I don't like awkward silence. Yeah. Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh.
Nick, what did you do? Okay.
All right, we're gonna take a quick pause really quick. Anyone you all want to recommend?
Tell us some jokes.
I mean, it is first open period. Senator Booz.
I was thinking we could move for a 5-minute recess.
Oh, we got it.
Oh yeah, we got this. We got this. Motion denied. Thank you. Alrighty, everyone.
On the corner next to you.
Haha.
Why did they make it bigger?
Hey, that'll do. Alrighty, so if you'll go ahead and go to the next slide, Ariana. So first of all, we want to start out with our Outstanding Partner Award, our Outstanding Advising Partner. This goes to an advisor who has really helped us throughout the year and has really been a great partner to SGA. And so, Michael, I'll hand it to you if you want to give this one out. Yeah, you can do that one.
Cool. So this individual is someone who we've relied on quite greatly throughout the year. Someone who has always been the voice of support for not just some groups of us, I almost gave it away there, but across the entire executive team. Someone who is a true champion for K-State, and more importantly, a true champion for students. Throughout us working with this individual, this person has always connected us to the right channels so that we can make an impact, and has always encouraged us to take the extra step, to push even farther, and to acknowledge that we need grace along the way as well. So truly an outstanding person, and more importantly, an outstanding leader at K-State, and someone who we're very thankful to call one of our great partners and friends. And that person, without further ado, Blake, am I allowed to do this? Okay. Without further ado, our outstanding advising partner is Dr. Thomas Lane.
Alrighty. Next, we'll go ahead and move to Cabinet Member of the Year, Maggie.
Last time I get to raise the mic after Michael talks. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, so our Cabinet Member of the Year, frankly, was an incredibly difficult choice. Cameron, Michael, and I sat down and really went over the hard work and achievements of every single one of our Cabinet members. I saw hard work, diligence, friendship, and every single one of the cabinet members who I got to serve alongside this year. And I feel truly honored to have served with each and every single one of them. But this cabinet member of the year is someone who, number one, did their legislative duties incredibly well. They served in the capacity of their role, they scheduled one-on-ones with me, they were consistent with attending cabinet, and they were a friend to all cabinet members. But they also went above and beyond the call of duty. They planned things when other folks fell through. They took the charge without being asked, and they were a very humble person. They were someone who would come to me and say, "Maggie, I'm stuck and I need your help," which I appreciated immensely. Someone who has the ability to ask questions. I saw an incredible amount of growth in this person this year, and I'm so incredibly proud to call this person my friend and colleague. Our cabinet member of the year is Mr. Logan Cohn.
One thing I forgot to mention is we will have plaques coming next year. Potentially in a little bit. They haven't been ordered yet, but they will be ordered. So we'll make sure to get those out. Moving on to our next award is the Judicial Member of the Year. Unfortunately, Annalie and Matthew couldn't be with us tonight, so I'll go ahead and present this one. I personally have seen this judicial member just in so many ways go above and beyond. Their dedication and willingness to pick everything up and just really do their job role has really been fantastic this year. I've really enjoyed getting to know them and see their work in SGA, even though, you know, judicial sometimes, just due to the nature of what they do, is a little bit more secretive, so sometimes it's a little bit harder to see the hours that are put in, especially because they're doing cases while we're in Senate. It was really easy to see the work that this person did, especially during election season and a lot of different things. So our Judicial Member of the Year is Mr. Matthew Swords. Nick, you want to take Senator?
Certainly. So, Senator of the Year. Oh, sorry. Alrighty. Senator of the Year is for someone in the Senate who really has shown Blake and I outstanding achievements, outstanding respect of others, and a true passion for everything that we do in the best branch of SGA. I have watched this particular individual achieve a whole lot of things and bring so much to the table. I have been excited to work with them every step of the way, and I am so proud to announce that our Senator of the Year is Mr. Gus Sharp.
Alrighty. With that, I know we have Ashley and or Michael joining us on Zoom to announce Intern of the Year. At least I think.
Let's see.
Hey.
Ashley has a little bit of a speech prepared, but if you want to go for it, Ashley.
Yes, not much of a speech, just some notes, but Michael and I are really proud. I wish I could see people's faces. I cannot. If you're an intern, feel free to turn your camera on. But Michael and I are really proud of all of our kids. You guys have all worked really hard. You're so driven, so passionate, and we could not have asked any more of you guys this year. So we're really proud of every single one of you. The person that we gave this award to, that we chose, has shown up, has exceeded our expectations, taken initiative, built relationships within SGA that aren't just Michael and I and other interns, and we definitely love to see that. Like Blake said about one of the past people, this person has really gone above and beyond and deserves this award. So do we get to say the name, or do you say it, Blake?
Yeah, it's all you.
Okay, this award goes to Miss Adrian McFarland. Congratulations.
We unfortunately did not have a picture of Adrian. Very sorry about that.
Up, Adrian.
Alrighty, up next we have our Committee of the Year. Folks, this one was tough. We had a lot of different committees that were really deserving of this award. This specific committee that won Committee of the Year really went above and beyond. They put in a lot of extra work this year. More so, this committee in the past doesn't usually get a lot of recognition, just kind of due to the work that they do. But I know that they have been sent so much legislation this year and have really taken on a lot of different projects and initiatives. And we're really proud of them and really want to recognize the effort that they went through this year. So without further ado, the Committee of the Year this year is the Senate Operations Committee.
If you're a member of Ops, go ahead and stand up. We want to recognize you.
Yes. Ops members, stand on up. Awesome. Alrighty. So, up next for our awards. Next, we get to our Outstanding Achievement Award. So this one wasn't one that was nominated, but this is somewhat of like a lifetime award in SGA. We really like to recognize someone who has gone above and beyond in their SGA career and has really done a fantastic job at something. And this person, my goodness, talk about having a very tall task. They took it on and accomplished it like no other. This person I am so proud of just to have worked with, but also to have seen the work that they've done and the path that they're setting up the future of SGA on. So I want to recognize their hard work, and our Outstanding Achievement Award this year goes to Mr. Max Harmon. So we have two more awards left. The next two were nominated by you all. So Nick, I'll let you give this one out as well.
Of course, yeah. So these last two awards are particularly special. I think they reflect an enormous degree of not just achievement, but compassion for everyone else in the organization. These last two individuals are people we measure not by the steps that they've taken, but just as much by every single thing that they've compelled someone in this room to do. I owe so much of everything I have in SGA to this particular individual. The winner of the Susan M. Scott Outstanding Female Leader is Maggie Billman.
Yeah!
Chief of Staff. She's the one that gave me some of them.
Thank you very much, Amy. All right. Yes, go ahead, Vedant. Vedant is going to be announcing our next Bernard Franklin Outstanding Advocate Award as the winner last year. So Vedant, take it away.
Hello, it's evening, yeah. Good evening, everyone. So the Bernard Franklin Outstanding Advocate Award is presented to a student who has demonstrated exceptional leadership when it comes to serving our student body. This person has went above and beyond to extraordinary lengths to represent the student body fiercely to K-State administration. Last year, I was deeply honored to be the inaugural recipient of this award. However, it gives me even more happiness to be here and be able to present this award to the next recipient. With that, the 2021-2022 Bernard Franklin Outstanding Advocate Award goes to my dear friend and colleague, Cameron Koger.
Yes, Cameron.
Cameron could not be here today. He's out of town, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
Cameron
but
has
he will be receiving the news. So.
Yeah, he has an interview, a job or a graduate school interview in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So he was supposed to fly. I don't know if that happened, but he's there in Louisiana. So awesome. I believe that's the last slide. Yes. So thank you all so much for going with us through our award ceremony this year. And big shout out to these individuals for all the hard work that they've put in this year. And we really appreciate everyone's hard work this year. Thank you all so much. And with that, we will go ahead and move into the rest of Senate.
Woo! Last one. You're welcome. In case you didn't know.
Alrighty. Unless there are any further speakers for first open period, then we will go ahead and move into approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed on Wednesday along with the agenda and legislation tracking information. Are there any questions or corrections for the minutes? Seeing none, I will seek a motion for approval. Senator Glasscock.
I move to approve the minutes.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the minutes will stand approved. Announcements for this week, if I can scroll. COVID-19 information is at the top, and today is the last day of the 2021-2022 SGA term. Thank you all so much for your service to students this year. If you'll be serving in SGA again next year, our next Student Senate meeting will be Thursday, March 24th, and if you won't be in SGA, tonight is your last meeting. So thank you all. If tonight is your last meeting, thank you all for your service this past year, especially to seniors and anyone who's been in the organization for multiple years. Thank you for your multiple years of service as well. Next, if you will be serving in Senate next term, new senator training will begin on Tuesday, March 22nd in the Big 12 room at 7 p.m. New senator training is required for all 2022 and 2023 senators, regardless of experience level. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Next, we have an update on SGA merchandise. We go ahead and fill out that form with that link if you'd like. Is that open, Ariana? Okay, gotcha. Awesome. Oh, Chair Lynn.
It's not.
It says it'll be live later tonight.
I might just create a new link. I don't know why that's not opening for everybody else, but I will definitely send an email about that.
Gotcha. Awesome, awesome. Next, we have applications open for a variety of positions there. So our Chief of Staff application, the Senate Executive Committee and Independent Position application, and then our Cabinet application. Chief of Staff applications are due March 24th at 11:59, and you can contact President-elect Vogelmoor or Vice President-elect Ebeck for that. And then Senate Exec, Independent Position, and Cabinet applications close April 1st at 11:59, and you can contact the various people there for that. Next, again, please fill out that survey for Athletics Director Hunter Flack for the Lot 9 task force there. Proxies for this week, I have one proxy, and that is Salmon for Kalari Kjall. We have our Zoom link there, but we're not going to need that anymore. And then Senate shout-out form is at the end. And finally, our SGA member of the week this week is our CSI accountant, Amy Lee. Amy has done a fantastic job of supporting our allocations chairs, treasurer, and many other members of SGA. Thank you so much for being a friendly face we can stop by to see, and for all of your hard work to support SGA and students on our campus. So thank you very much, Amy. All right, as you'll see, we have no upcoming events because it is spring break and the term is over. And then finally, the quote of the week, my favorite quote, is, if you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it. And that's Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark to Tom Holland as Peter Parker. Alrighty, with that, we have done commendations for the night, so we will move into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Long.
We do a dual OCAC tax one.
Go for it.
There's only room for one at the moment.
Yeah.
I'll raise you.
You can have the other one.
Got here first, so.
Thankfully, we told Wassos the same mic height. All righty, everybody. So we are giving just a little update to what we spent this year. So if you don't know, TAC and OCAC, we pull out of the same pool of money to fund organizations. So we're going to give this, assuming everything passes tonight. Mike? Yes. assuming everything passes tonight, there we go. This is what the final numbers will look like. So, total amount of money, we had $54,797 to spend for OCAC and TAC combined. TAC is still allowed to spend 60% of that. OCAC can spend whatever it wants, but after the 60%, to get more technical. So, in total, TAC, assuming tonight all passes, we spent $16,580 out of the $32,987 you're supposed to spend. So we spent around half the budget we were allowed to spend.
And now I'll talk. We had about 22,000 and we spent about 15,000 of that. So we got pretty close and we fully funded most of our requests. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yep. So together, total TAC and OCAC spent $31,907 out of the $54,979. So, yeah, 977. So we spent a little over half of it, and yep. Any questions?
Senator Glasscock.
I assume that goes to reserves. So what's in the reserves right now?
I have no idea. Off the top of my head, sorry. It'll go there, but I don't have the number pulled up. Sorry.
Any further questions out there? Seeing none, thank you both for your report. With that, are there any further committee chairs who would like to give a report tonight? Chair Lynn.
I just wanted to give a really quick update about kind of the wrapping up of the Special Committee on Strategic Oversight. By the end of this semester, we ended up with 5 brand new reports that students started working on, and then the report on sexual assault prevention that we had started before the committee really came to fruition. So that's 6 total reports that we're going into this next year with when it becomes a standing committee. Nick and I, in our last meeting, sat down with the members that were able to attend to talk about some different changes that we wanted to make, things that went well, things that didn't go well. So we're definitely going to be considering those in our transition documents. And then as far as the different reports that we were able to open, there was one on representation of diverse groups in the media, one report on student workers, one report on student government elections, one report on ADA compliance, and then another report on gender neutral bathrooms. So those are all the things that are going to be in the works next year. And then the sexual assault prevention report is also going to be worked on. So be on the lookout for more legislation and more projects that are coming out of that committee in this next term. And I'm really, really excited for what happens when that becomes a standing committee.
Awesome. Are there any questions for Chair Lynn? Seeing none, thank you very much, Peyton. Are there any further committee chairs who would like to give a report tonight? Chair Harmon.
This will be a bit of a 2-part report. We have lots of business coming out of the student services fee still, even in the final Senate. And so I'll address that and then give you all kind of a final update, just like TAC and OCAC did, on what the results of the year have been. So coming out and on your agenda, you'll see normally introduced the 4 line items for the union contracts, and just like I introduced last week, as well as you'll also see in introduction, there are the 2 last contracts for UPC and CEF. I mentioned what those reductions were going to be last week, but those will be in introduction and will unfortunately have to be special ordered before the end of the term. So my apologies for that not falling into the normal line of the legislative process. But that is the business there, as well as you will also see a transfer of Spark funding dollars. And so not actual Spark funding dollars, but we will read through that and I'll talk all about more about that when that is introduced. But that has to do with Lafine, and if any of you all remember what we called the swap of funding back at the beginning of the year when Lafine Health Center got federal assistance in the form of Spark dollars in order to make the most use out of those dollars, we kind of swapped that out. They used that money to pay for salaries and some COVID tests, but still needed to pay for more COVID tests beyond the governmentally required like limitations on that sport funding. So we put the excess of that, flowed that into the bond surplus account of the student services fee, and that had some like legislation and a couple of resolutions since governing how to deal with that. So this last piece of legislation is a transfer of those dollars in order to allow Lippian Health Center, that's actually kind of like reimbursing them for extra costs they've had here in calendar year 22 for extra ordered COVID test kits. So I will do all of that and introduce that when that comes up for introduction. And then for that second part of the report, just for overall results on both the work of the Student Services Fee Committee and by extension, your all's decisions this year. The biggest number, kind of like the big end all be all, as you all know, we were shooting for $2 million in total reductions over the course of these next 2 years. The committee this year had 75% of our discretionary funds, non-bond funds, up for review this year, a massive amount, about $9 million. And so under that total amount that was under their review, the goal to hit that reduction of $2 million to meet the deficit was for the committee to reduce total allocation by that 1.5 million. And so because of their work and their reviews and all of the discussions that we've had with entity directors and the work of the committee, and by extension, you all also posing your questions, reviewing that, going through the legislative process, and you all making those decisions as well. The final number, as for the results of the work of the Student Services Fee Committee this year, was a total savings of $1,650,405. So, yeah, good job. Good job, committee. And that is not without hardship. That is not without a lot of really hard conversations with entity directors. But I am really, really happy to report that I think that is still with really positive relationships with entity directors and a minimized impact on what will be the student experience coming out of those contracts next year. So that is a total of a 17% reduction in the total allocation of the fee. Which is massive. And the total debt they're leaving forward, their goal was to leave $500,000 left for next year's committee to deal with. Instead, they are leaving the committee with $349,495. So absolutely amazing work to you all. And we've heard that in the responses from entity directors. I've had entity director after entity director, both through insufficient funds and through the normal review process, be extremely complimentary of the committee's work questioning and getting into the nitty-gritty, but also maintaining the larger context and allowing entity directors to make the decisions they need to make. And so that is 100% on you all as a committee, and it has been an absolute pleasure and an honor working with you all this year. So that is the total results of the committee's work and your all's work in Student Senate this year. And you all should feel extremely, extremely proud for how you are setting up entities and students up for success despite extremely hard and trying times. I wouldn't want any other team to do it with, and I dare another university or another shared governance system to do what we've done this year.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that report, Max. Are there any further committee chairs who would like to give a report tonight? Seeing none, I will seek any directors who would like to give a report. Director Cohn.
Okay, this will be just super quick. Just wanted to give an update on Kansas State on the Hill, and then Kansas Higher Ed Day yesterday. I think Kansas on the Hill in DC last week went really well. We had 7 meetings, and Tracy Mann actually decided to co-sponsor some of the legislation that we presented. I haven't kept up with a lot of the other bills, but yeah. So yeah, and then yesterday, appreciate everyone who went. The Legislative Advocate Group did great. and we kind of focused on the higher education budget that Laura Kelly pushed forward. Yesterday, it sounded like the facilities, the capital improvement budget was amended to be at $35 million for the university. So we'll see if that passes. But with that, the data security budget got cut. So I'll keep you guys updated, or the next legislative director will keep you updated. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Logan. All right. Are there any further directors who would like to give a report tonight? All right, I have a quick one. So I know that I mentioned all the applications that we have available in our announcement section, but I just wanted to give one final call since this is the last Senate of the term. If you are interested in running for either my position or Nick's position, being Speaker of the Student Senate or Speaker Pro Tempore of the Student Senate, and you haven't talked to us yet, please consider doing so. It'll just be a really beneficial conversation so that we can help set you up for success when that running happens. Speaker of the Student Senate elections will happen at the very first meeting of the new term. That'll be March 24th. And then Speaker Pro Tempore elections will happen on April 1st, I believe, and the second meeting of the term. So 2 super important positions, and please reach out to us if you are interested in running. If you're on the fence, still please do reach out. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have and help set you up for success in your running. So, Senator Boos.
Yeah, and additionally, if you want me to tell you what not to do while running for Speaker of the Student Senate, because I ran for the same position that Blake is currently in, I'd be more than happy to answer questions about it as well.
Andrew's awesome. Please. I love Andrew. Andrew and I had a really great conversation out in the foyer last year when that happened. So I hope the same thing happens again next year. It'll be really great. So unless there is anyone else who would like to give a report tonight, we will go ahead and move into approval of the allocations. So we have a lot of allocations on the agenda for tonight. Bills 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, and 84. Bills 79, 80, or 79 was referred favorably from OCAC 7 to 1 to 0. And then the rest were referred favorably unanimously from their respective committees. Are there any questions or corrections for those allocations? Chair Jambunathan.
Yeah, can I make a friendly amendment to Bill 80 to change the grad students of Ag Econ from a DSO to ISO?
Yes. Sorry, which line was that in?
Ooh, good question. It should.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, in the first.
DSO to ISO?
Yeah.
Got it. That amendment will be made. Senator Boos.
Yeah, I guess I have 2 questions now.
Okay.
First question is on Bill 80 as well. If that's changed to an ISO, don't we need to add wording in section 2 that's basically like they have to sign an agreement, or is that not the case in this allocation?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, well then, I mean, I'm not entirely sure exactly what the wording is, but I'd also like to make that amendment.
Yeah, I can get that. That'll just be straight from the template. So we'll throw that on there as well. Did you have a second question, Andrew?
Yeah, I had a second question about a completely different bill. So 79 was referred with 1 negative vote. I don't know if I can ask about why that vote was negative, if it was just like a random negative vote, which happens in ops, or if it had a point behind it.
You can ask.
Okay, well, yeah, sorry, I would like you to ask.
I don't have an answer. I will just say, preface for all of this, when this group came to present, there was no conversation about not funding them fully.
Right.
So there was no counter argument. It was just somebody who put it no. I don't have the answers for you.
Yeah, no, that's completely understandable. All right.
Awesome. Any other questions or corrections out there? Seeing none, I will seek a motion to approve the allocations. Chair Salmon.
I move to approve the allocations.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the allocations. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the allocations will stand approved. With that, we will go ahead and move into final action. And first up tonight, we have Bill 69 coming back from the Senate Operations Committee. If the author will please come forward. All right, have any changes been made?
Yeah, so there have been several changes made on both 69 and 70. In particular, on Bill 69, we completely removed the original Section 1 after consultation with General Counsel and with Anna Lee, the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General. That was regarding the initial claims, and so they both agreed that it wouldn't apply to them at all. Basically, adding that additional element of you have to recuse yourself if you debated on something, because nobody's going to start a claim like an MEP or whatever is not going MIP, excuse me, would not it wouldn't relate to anything that people debated, yet that would still give people another way of claiming that people are that the people judging them are biased, which wouldn't be good. And then in the new Section 1, old Section 2, I think we changed bias to conflict on line 47. And then, let's see, and then we changed on line 79, there should be a bias struck out, or like a potential bias struck out, as opposed to it just doesn't have anything there.
Which line is that, sorry?
79. So that should say struck, potential biased, and then italicized conflict of interest, which that was added additionally after consultation with General Counsel. And then finally on the Section 4, which needs to be Section 3, I must have missed that, on line 111, that got changed to Section 3, obviously, and then we removed the requirement for review by General Counsel because we already completed that requirement.
Alrighty, you have first rights to debate.
Yeah, so I don't know how much debate really to expect on this, but I'm still going to do a fairly traditional, at least 2-point debate as far as it goes, because I think that overall, like, I've come around on the actual topic, but I think in some important ways, these bills considered as a package avoid some of the problems that I had with the previous bills that would have established judicial speaking privileges. And so the first one is just that I think it's a more consistent approach to say that because judicial members are approved by Student Senate, that's why they have speaking privileges, as opposed to the previous assertion that just by being members of SGA, that's what happened. And over time, I mean, it's been fairly clear that we've moved towards a system where if approved by Student Senate, that's when you get speaking privileges. For instance, cabinet speaking privileges were added in 1973. Interns were granted speaking privileges in 1987 when they were all approved by Student Senate. And in 1994, we gave the Attorney General speaking privileges, and that position was approved by Student Senate at the time as well. And so I think that this is overall a consistent step to give the entirety of the judicial branch, which is approved by Student Senate, those speaking privileges, and I hope you'll agree with me. Additionally, I think that Bill 69 in particular solves the conflict of interest concerns that I had largely about the previous set of bills. I think it's important to add, because on appeals, the judicial branch didn't have anything requiring them to recuse themselves. And so in Section 1, when we add this wording that's very much adopted from the Section 8 of the judicial bylaws, as opposed to the Section 10 is where we're adding it, that the chair shall ask if any person sitting in judgment has prior information or conflicts that could cause bias, including but not limited to those in Section 8. And I think that's an important thing, to add the same protections against bias with appeals, as well as when you introduce a case in the first place. And I think that would, if it ever very rarely came up that on appeal you would be appealing to the student tribunal, say an elections regulations violation, that would still require people to recuse themselves if they debated. Additionally, I think that it's the additional things to the interpretation hearing is especially important. That is exactly where we are most likely to have a judicial member who would debate on something and then turn around and be asked to judge it, especially if it's extremely controversial. And so by adding that section there that say, if you are a member of the tribunal and you debated the legislation in Student Senate or a KSU SGA committee, that you have to recuse yourselves, that locks off a pretty big loophole that otherwise would have been there about the requirements of judicial to be non-biased. And judicial is much more likely to be that way now, I believe, especially in the most popular way and potentially the most controversial, the interpretation section. And so, like, overall, I think that this bill in particular is still consistent and solves those conflict of interest concerns and conflict of branch concerns. And so I would hope that you vote for it.
Awesome. Thank you for your debate, Andrew. I will now seek debate in the negative for Bill 69. Is there any additional debate in the positive for Bill 69? Is there any additional debate at all? Senator Booz.
I move to bulk roll call Bill 69 and 70.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to bulk roll call Bill 69 and 70. Are there any objections for that? Seeing none, Bill 69 and 70 will be bulk roll called. Andrew, I will yield the floor to you for debate on Bill 70.
Yep.
Were any changes made on 70?
Yeah, so 70 had quite a bit less changes. I believe the only change we made was removing the requirement that Judicial Council look it over because we had already had Judicial Council look it over.
All right, first right to debate.
Yeah, so first, I think the reason I bulk roll called is this is very much kind of a package deal, Bill 69 and 70. I would not want to necessarily go with only Bill 70, and I think I think that it's important that they go together. The second thing is really, I've done a lot of my arguing for this in my previous speech as well, but I did want to mention that I like better how this is worded and how this is only a statutes change for now. I think it's useful to have a full list of the groups that, or at least a list of most of the groups that membership within qualifies you to have speaking privileges in Student Senate. I think having a blanket statement that might exclude someone or might not is kind of an issue. And under this, you can be sure that if you're a committee member without being a student senator, or you're a judicial board member, in addition to being the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General, that you have speaking rights. No matter, you don't have to go and ask, hey, am I approved by Student Senate? All right. Especially halfway through the year, that might be a little long to think back. And so I like having that full list. Additionally, I like codifying the list, the qualification that I've been using, which is if your appointment is subject to the approval of Student Senate, you have speaking privileges. I like codifying that principle, and then people going forward will see that is a principle that people in Student Senate used, even if they don't keep that principle in the future. And then finally, if the judicial branch wants to, or if Student Senate wants to write a bill to put it in the Constitution or the bylaws in the future, if it works out well, that's great. If it doesn't work out, I think it's valuable that we can change it relatively easily when it's in the statutes as opposed to the Constitution. When we tried to remove the presidents of student organizations. And so finally, there's some other minor changes here that I think are really helpful to disambiguate phrases, such as changing Robert's Rules of Order to Robert's Rules of Order newly revised. Thank you, Evan, for that suggestion. And then splitting up yielding time into 3 groups of things. I think that overall those changes are valuable. So I hope you vote yes, and I hope to see you in the new term as a president of a student organization that still has speaking rights.
Awesome. Thank you for your debate, Andrew. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 70?
Question privilege.
Granted.
Currently, are at-large committee members approved by Student Senate? My apologies.
No, they are not. They are approved by their committee chairs. Yes.
Debate.
Oh, granted. All right.
Hello, all. I remember speaking in the negative to the first renditions of some of this legislation, and wholeheartedly love the legislative process coming back and trying to address some of those concerns. From me personally, none of my concerns at the beginning were never particularly about the issue of conflicts of interest. These two new bills completely do fix that problem. To me, I don't think that's the main problem. I think the main thing that this doesn't, and I think is irrevocably intertwined, is the fact that, at least from my perspective, please feel free to disagree. The privilege of speaking rights is not tied to the fact that people are approved by Student Senate. It's tied to an ex officio responsibility within the legislative or policymaking process. Ex officio just means tied to your position. People who have positions that directly relate them to the work done in Student Senate are the people who in the past have had speaking rights. So it's not an issue of being a member of SGA, judicial members are wholeheartedly members of SGA. Just like was said last time, this body or speaking rights does not deem you yes or no a member of SGA. And so I think that's the main thing about this, and still just at its core, what is the purpose of speaking rights? And 100% agree with the intentions of the bill, building bridges with the judicial branch and continuing that culture. But I don't think that amending a core mechanism of what it means to be a member who has that power within this body and widening that is even the most effective way to do that. I think there is power, like we talked about with our previous debates when we attempted to remove the faculty senate seat. I gave a little bit of thoughts on the power of the symbolism of that seat, whether or not they were sitting in it or not. That was a super fruitful discussion, as we saw. Because of the discussion we had, that seat ended up being filled. And I have no doubt, I think this is exactly the same kind of discussion. I disagree with the changes being made to the governing docs, but I think by having this discussion, we will end up making the changes in our culture, and already have. We've already seen that, building more bridges and having a more visible judicial branch than I think we've ever had, at least in my time in SGA. And so I would urge you all to vote no on these bills, not out of malice for the judicial branch or anything like that. I just don't think amending our governing docs and one of the core mechanisms of what it means to mainly be a student senator, but be somebody who is officially tied to the legislative and policymaking process of SGA. That's the point of what we do here. Judicial has a super important and wholeheartedly their own kind of process. We all don't really have a say, or at least not normally, in their processes for good reason. We are a much more open body than that. We shouldn't be as closed off as the judicial branch, and we're not. Luckily, we have mechanisms to allow any student of Kansas State University to come in here and be able to voice their opinions and get speaking rights. I just deep down disagree that it's particularly hard to obtain speaking rights in the current culture. I think we've all been super welcoming, and anybody who comes in, and actually I can speak to this, I can give direct examples. I oftentimes have complete outsiders to Student Senate attend these meetings. Oftentimes MC200 journalists and anybody who's reporting on student services fee work. I have entity directors, journalists, students who are concerned reach out to me from completely outside of all contact of SGA and come and attend these meetings. Carter is on the Zoom right now, who's an MC200 journalist reporting on student services fee issues, and I've had a fantastic time interacting with him and anybody else completely outside of SGA, welcoming them to Student Senate and offering my speaking rights. Entity directors are a perfect example. Corey was here just last week to speak on the union introductions. And so I think those are just some concrete examples of, I don't think we have a particular issue with speaking rights right now, but I do think if we make these changes, it continues to dilute some of that which makes being a student senator special. and I think that symbolism has a lot of power, and I completely align with the intentions of these bills, but I don't think this is the mechanism to do it, and I urge you all to vote it no, but continue with the intentions.
Awesome. Thank you for your debate, Max. I will now seek additional debate in the positive on Bill 70. I will seek additional negative debate on Bill 70. Last call for debate on Bill 70. Seeing none, we will now move into a roll call vote, a bulk roll call vote on Bills 69 and 70.
Thanks so much, Blake. Alrighty. Bain.
No to both.
Bannister.
To both.
Barron.
Yes to both.
Bellamy.
Pass to both.
Binkley.
No to both.
Blood.
No to both.
Booze.
Yes to both.
Byrne. Kahlo. Compton.
Yes to both.
Cranford. DeMott.
Pass to both.
Doc.
No to both.
Dunlap. Ansero.
No to both.
Esslinger. Fields.
No to both.
Fuss. Gann.
No to both.
Glasscock.
Yes to both.
Heatherman.
Yes to both.
Holland.
No to both.
Hotzel.
No to both.
Jimbanathan.
Yes to both.
Colorikial.
Yes to both by proxy.
Kidd.
Yes to both.
Koch.
No to both.
Kramer. Lister. Long.
Yes to both.
Lynn.
Yes to both.
Marquez. Mayor.
Yes to both.
McPhee.
Yes to both.
Nelson. Pineda Gomez.
Pass to both.
Pundillo.
Yes to both.
Porter.
Yes to both.
Prester.
No to both.
Richenberg.
Yes to both.
Riffle.
No to both.
Rook.
No to both.
Roth.
No to both.
Salmon.
Yes to both.
Scharnhorst.
Yes to both.
Shear.
No to both.
Schindler.
Yes to both.
Spleekel.
No to both.
Stout.
No to both.
Sitzma.
No to both.
Thomas.
Yes to both.
Volgamore.
No to both.
Wallace. Warren.
No to both.
Willis Jackson.
Abstain to both.
And Willis Reese. Okay. Got that complete. Okay. Going back to passes. Bellamy.
Yes to both.
DeMott.
Yes to both.
Then we have one more. No. Oh, yeah. Pineda Gomez.
Abstain to both.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, yeah. On a vote of 22 to 21 to 2, both pieces of legislation fail. The 22 to 21 to 2 still doesn't have a majority.
No, but abstentions do not count when you're calculating the majority.
Okay, in that case,
Give us 1 second, everyone.
I would urge someone to reconsider on 69 because I really think that if we have like I think that one is and that's the one we have. Didn't we vote for one but not? Yes.
No. Someone's gonna have to move to reconsider the other. Or
One pass no.
well, to make it, I think, should.
Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay. Sorry, Bannister is no to both? that might make this simpler. On a vote of 21 to 22 to 2, both pieces of legislation fail.
Just to confirm, Will, your vote is no to both. We had down yes originally. I just want to make sure. Correct. No to both. All right. So with that, both pieces of legislation will fail. Bill 69 and 70 fail. So we will move on to Bill 85. Will the author please come forward?
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you very much, Will. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Colin. Have any changes been made?
No.
All right. With that, you have first rights to debate.
So basically, when I talked about the last Senate meeting, there's just a few minor changes made. It's really awkward. Like the changes were made because, for one, it's like awkward because like a president is elected within the committee, but like the executive cabinet liaison has to first create, like he has to first schedule, or they have to first schedule the first meeting. So it's kind of weird that like they're already doing the job in the beginning, so then just select someone else to do what they are already doing just seemed a little weird. And then also, since it is a small committee, I just don't see the reason for it to have as many executive members as it has in the legislation. It just really needs one person to schedule the meetings, work with the director of Lafine to get those scheduled, do the agendas, and that's pretty much all I see as it needing, because the director of Lafine kind of has the rest of the agenda and speaking points for the committee.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Colin. I will now seek any debate in the negative on Bill 85. I will seek additional debate in the positive on Bill 85. Any last debate on Bill 85? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote.
Thanks so much, Blake. Bain.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Binkley.
Yes.
Blood.
No.
Booz.
Yes.
Byrne. Kahlo. Compton.
Yes.
Cranford. DeMott.
Yes.
Doc.
Yes.
Dunlap. Encero.
Yes.
Esslinger. Fields.
Yes.
Fuss. Gann.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Heatherman. Holland.
Yes.
Hotzel.
Yes.
Jambunathan.
Yes.
Colorikial.
Yes, by proxy.
Kidd.
Pass.
Koch.
Yes.
Kramer. Lister. Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Marquez. Mayor. McPhee.
Yes.
Nelson. Pineda Gomez.
Yes.
Pondillo.
Yes.
Porter.
Yes.
Prester.
Yes.
Richenberg.
Yes.
Riffle.
Yes.
Rook.
Yes.
Roth.
Yeah.
Salmon.
Yes.
Scharnhorst.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Schindler.
Yes.
Splekel.
Yes.
Stout.
Yes.
Sitzma.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore.
Yes.
Wallace. Warren.
Yes.
Willis Jackson.
Yes.
And Willis Reese. Okay. And then going back to Marcus.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Alrighty. On a vote of 42 to 1 to 0, Bill 85 passes.
Alrighty. With that, we will move down the agenda. Really quick, you'll notice that Bill 86 is gone just because this is our last meeting. I wanted to point out that was tabled indefinitely in the Senate Operations Committee by a vote of 4 to 3 to 1. Senator Scharnhorst.
Technically, it was postponed by 1 week.
postponed by 1 week, which, because it's the end of the term, means that the bill dies. So that is why that is not on your agenda tonight, and Bill 86 is missing. But we will go ahead and move to Bill 87. Will the author please come forward? All right, have any changes been made?
They have. This is food contract determined. Nope, this is statutes. And those changes have also been made. I will run through a quick list of them. A couple like general punctuation and like cleanup things as is generally necessary in the statutes. But things of note. Advisor Ferris sent me a note after introduction last week. We originally had one of the controls signatures needing to be made by the Speaker Pro Tempore, as well as originally the CSI accountant. Formerly, it was in the bill. It was formerly as the like coordinator of student activities and services. That's old like OSAS terminology. We had updated that originally to be the CSI accountant, and then Kelly let me know that right now she is the one who's making that signature. And so we changed this to be a KSU SGA advisor. She's doing that. We did some digging. Originally, we weren't sure if she was making that signature through her authority as the CSI executive director or as the legislative advisor. And it makes more sense, and we're pretty sure it's through her authority as an SGA advisor. Why would like an employee of CSI anytime else be making control signatures on allocations of Student Governing Association? And so we put this in as KSU SGA advisor, made that update. And that is on line 154. Further down on lines 249, we ended up striking, scroll down to line 154. 249. Yeah, did we strike that audit thing? I'm so sorry, I should remember.
We changed it from shall to may.
Right. Yeah, we didn't strike it. Fun fact, there's lots of fun things buried in the Senate's. The previous treasurer role had the authority to conduct random audits on ISOs receiving funding. So super fun. We changed that to the Student Allocations Committee chair, and the old language was shall. We changed that to may. We haven't been making those audits anytime in recent memory, at least, but it's a good thing to have in our back pocket in case we need to sometime down the line. We struck on lines 351 a series of lines outlining the requirement that currently for student orgs to submit a request to TAC and OCAC, they technically submit that to the Center for Student Involvement, and then within 7 days of submitting that request, they are supposed to arrange a meeting to help them plan their event. We haven't been doing that, and also it doesn't make student orgs are probably they're able to plan their own events. They don't necessarily need to come in and burn up CSI's time as well as their own time having that meeting. So we went ahead and struck that requirement. Also, yeah, generally just kind of in accordance with current practice. So that's line 351 starting there. On line 404, this is in the appeal process for those allocations for TAC and OCAC. We just updated the place where they file that completed reconsideration form. It's on Org Central. It's not like a paper form you go into CSI and fill out anymore. It's a form on Org Central. And then, yeah, those were all of the changes of words other than punctuation and just fixing spelling mistakes and everything. Chair Long.
Point of clarification, for 249 for the audit, it's the pro Tim doing the audit, not the SAC chair, right?
Oh.
What's written,
Yes. Yes.
So, cool.
Yep.
Alrighty, Max, you have first rights to debate.
Awesome. Yep, so pretty similar when I introduced it last week. These are just all of the updates that need changed in the statutes. I gave the analogy last week about kind of the breakdown of Constitution, bylaws, and statutes and how they govern our processes. Statutes, when we made the original bill restructuring committees, that was all bylaws work. That's kind of the overall general outline for the mechanisms of like how we do stuff. The statutes are the actual like words telling the committees how to do their job. And I wasn't super well versed in these until digging into them to make these changes. And it's super cool. I know we talked on Senate Exec, and Jacob and Durga gave lots of their approval too. We have stellarly written processes for how to allocate funds out of those committees buried in our statutes. And it's some high quality stuff. And so we just went through, and basically all of these changes were Control F for treasurer, plug in the new place, the new position who needs to be doing those responsibilities. Most of those is student allocations share. And some of those, anything having to do with controls of funds to kind of keep that separation of powers and keep proper controls on things, that is the Speaker Pro Tempore. And these are just all of the changes that accomplish that.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your debate, Max. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 87? Is there any additional positive debate for Bill 87? Is there any debate at all for Bill 87? Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote.
Alrighty, thanks, Blake. Bain.
Yes, sorry.
Bannister.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Binkley.
Yes.
Blood.
Yes.
Booze.
Yes.
Byrne. Kahlo. Compton.
Yes.
Cranford. DeMott.
Yes.
Doc.
Yes.
Dunlap. Ansero.
Yes.
Esslinger. Fields.
Yes.
Fuss. Gann.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Heatherman.
Yes.
Holland.
Yes.
Hotzel.
Yes.
Jambunathan.
Yes.
Kalarikial.
Yes, by proxy.
Kidd.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Kramer. Lister.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Lynn. Marquez. Mayor.
Yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Nelson. Pineda Gomez.
Yes.
Pondillo.
Yes.
Porter.
Yes.
Prester. Prester.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Thank you. Richenberg.
Yes.
Riffle.
Yes.
Rook.
Yes.
Roth.
Yeah.
Salmon.
Yes.
Scharnhorst.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Schindler.
Yes.
Spliegel.
Yes.
Stout.
Yes.
Sitzma.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore.
Yes.
Wallace. Warren.
Yes.
Willis Jackson.
Yes.
And Willis Reese. Okay, on a vote of 44 to 0, Bill 87 passes.
Alrighty, with that, we will move on to Bill 88. Well, Chair Porter.
I move to bulk roll call bills 88, 89, 90, and 91.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to bulk roll call bills 88 through 91. Are there any objections to that? Seeing none, those bills will be bulk roll called. Max, you've got the next four, so go ahead and come forward. All right, have any changes been made on 88?
88 is food contract, the first one, and yes, they have. Unfortunately, I did upload the committee changed document to Org Central. I thought I could have maybe hit a button wrong, or maybe those were grabbed. But so I don't think our version is reflected in the agenda. But if you scroll down to line 33, we added a change just right there at the end of clause 1. Yep. So what we added there, right at the end of that sentence, we put a comma and added and will be directly transferred to an account number that's super long at the beginning of each fiscal year. That was caught. I was just going through my audit-related emails, as one casually does, and found the audit for this line item from, I actually had this forwarded from Madison, and so managed to just like see a discussion Jen and her, or maybe Jen and I had at the beginning of the year. This is a really small thing. Technically, this is going to be dead by the time audit reviews it next, but we want to play nice with audit and make the changes they request. And so this is good. This just outlines a mechanism that wasn't particularly clear on when and how that money was getting transferred. So this just explicitly states right at the beginning of each fiscal year, the money goes from the proof fee collections to this account to pay off our debt with the university for covering that fee that came about when we broke the food contract agreement when the union got renovated.
Sorry about that, or sorry about missing that. Could you send me that legislation? Thank you.
Absolutely.
With that, you have first rights to debate.
So this is the most simple of all of the union contracts. This is the food contract termination subsidy repayment. So like I said, this is the thing we're repaying. The university gave us a cash advance when we renovated the union. We had to break a contract we had with the current food provider, and so that had this like big cost. I told you all the numbers on how long and for how much we'd been paying on that. Short recap, it was a lot for a long time, but it's going to be done soon. So we're not messing with that. We're just continuing our normally expected payments until it dies in FY 2024. So this allocates $80,000 for next year and only $20,000 to close out the account in fiscal year 24.
All right. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 88? Is there any additional positive debate on Bill 88? Any debate at all? Seeing none, we'll move to 89. And have any changes been made for that?
There have not.
First rights to debate.
This is the decrease of union operations, 89. So this is by far the biggest one, and definitely the one that students think of when they think of us funding the union. And so just like I talked about during introduction, what this amounts to, you can see on the second to last whereas clause. I outline what was the former original allocation, which is pre-insufficient funds callbacks, which was formerly $1,697,181, and the proposed amounts going forward constitute a 5, 8, and 10% decrease off of that original amount for FYs 23, 24, and 25. Working with union leadership, just like with a lot of the rest of our changes made this year, a lot of these changes are made with pretty direct consultation from leadership, and we even got to hear from Corey last week. But just to recap those potential impacts, is not filling 2 currently vacant positions over the for the next 3 years, one of which is a mechanical position and one of which is a full-time programming staff position. Reducing the student employee budget by 10%, eliminating the union's contribution to the free weekend parking in the parking garage, as well as their contribution to a game day shuttle bus service from these parking lots, eliminating the information desk staffing, and moving those like student workers to continue student work elsewhere, and then implementing additional meeting space service charges potentially. So those were the potential impacts. Of course, those are kind of dependent a little bit on if we get a lot more traffic and the union gets a lot more revenue, hey, encourage student organizations to go bowling if they're looking for recreation, to come eat in the union if they're already going to be having a meal on campus. Look for ways to support your campus community. I'll put that EcoDevo shout out there. But all of that is super variable, and we don't know how fast we're going to be able to recover that revenue that we've lost from the loss in foot traffic during the pandemic. So, but those are, at these changes, those are the main things that the union leadership can see potentially and probably occurring to make up for those budget decreases.
Awesome. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 89? Is there any additional positive debate on Bill 89? Last call for debate on Bill 89. Seeing none, we'll move to 90. Any changes there?
Nope.
All right, you know the drill.
This one's weird. We're doing the reserve before we're doing the actual R&R account. And so this is repair and replacement reserve. So each year, the union got a flat amount of money each year to go straight into that reserve to build up, and that's like the nest egg they can use for large changes, construction, anything that needs done. We have a similar account with the rec that we kind of refer to colloquially as if the roof caves in fund. And so this can be seen as semi-similar to that, and they have voluntarily agreed to forego that allocation for the next 3 years, mainly because there's a cap on that reserve account, and if any extra money that goes into that account reaches that cap, it just goes straight into the R&R fund. And so right now that cap is where it's at that cap right now. So this money is essentially just flowing into the R&R account, and the union was able to make the call that they are able to forego that for the next 3 years. And so that's $20,000 a year that they're giving up for FY 23, 24, and 25. Therefore, this line item will amount to zero, but won't be eliminated. We're going to keep that around. It'll be reviewed by the next Student Services Fee Committee.
Awesome. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 90? Is there any additional positive debate on Bill 90? Last call for debate on Bill 90. All right, we'll do 91.
Okay, and this is that actual R&R account. And so both decreases to this and to that reserve account. The main impacts there is a delay of the ballroom ceiling repair and technology enhancement project. So we're pushing that back a little bit. That's okay for now, but especially for the union's long-term goals, they have some issues that they need to take care of with that ceiling, so issues that they need to take care of, as well as wanting to update it. Like that ballroom could be used for some bigger events, and they just aren't currently outfitted with the equipment that they need to be a high-quality venue competing with other Manhattan venues that way. And so that's unfortunate, but they mentioned that the main effect of reducing these R&R funds is going to push that back a little bit, as well as reducing the HVAC unit replacement plan down from 6 units over the next 3 years to 5 units.
Alrighty.
And sorry, I should mention, original allocation, 406,650, and then the proposed changes are a 5, 10, and 15% decrease. Said that last week, but I wanted to reemphasize it.
Awesome. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 91? Any additional debate in the positive for Bill 91? And any debate at all? Seeing none, we will move into a bulk roll call vote on Bills 88, 89, 90, and 91.
Okay. Bain.
Yes to all.
Bannister.
Yes to all.
Barron.
Yes to all.
Bellamy.
Yes to all.
Binkley.
Yes to all.
Blood.
Yes to all.
Booze.
Yes to all.
Byrne. Kahlo. Compton.
Yes to all.
DeMott.
Yes to all.
Doc.
Yes to all.
Dunlap. Encero.
Yes to all.
Asslinger. Fields.
Yes to all.
Fuss. Gann. Glasscock.
Yes to all.
Heatherman.
Yes to all.
Holland.
Yes to all.
Hotzel.
Yes to all.
Jambunathan.
Yes to all.
Kalarikiol.
Yes to all by proxy.
Kidd.
Yes to all.
Koch.
Yes to all.
Kramer. Lister. Long.
Yes to all.
Lynn.
Yes to all.
Marquez. Mayor.
Yes to all.
McPhee.
Yes to all.
Nelson. Pineda Gomez.
Yes to all.
Pondillo.
Yes to all.
Porter.
Yes to all.
Prester.
Yes to all.
Richenberg.
Yes to all.
Riffle.
Yes to all.
Rook.
Yes to all.
Roth.
Yes to all.
Salmon.
Yes to all.
Scharnhorst.
Yes to each.
Shear.
Yes to all.
Schindler.
Yes to all.
Spleakel.
Yes to all.
Stout.
Yes to all.
Sitzma.
Yes to all.
Thomas.
Yes to all.
Volgamore.
Yes to all.
Wallace. Warren.
Yes to all.
Willis Jackson.
Yes to all.
And Willis Reese. Okay, on a vote of 43 to 0, all 4 bills are approved.
Alrighty. With that, we will move on to our final piece of legislation and final action, and that is Resolution 52. Will the author please come forward? Alright. Have any changes been made, Evan?
Yes. Let me get there. Here we go. So lines 41 and 42, we added write-in after both of those names because both of those people were write-ins, and I didn't have that noted originally, but that was the only change.
All right, first rights to debate.
Okay, so you really don't have any reason to vote no on this. It's just certifying the election. It's pretty pro forma. We do this every year. It was referred 4-2-1 from ops because people in my committee love to have fun. Hence why we are the best committee. Yeah, but other than that, I don't really have much to say, but please vote yes. I will cry if you don't.
Senator Koch.
Did all these people accept? Because I'm looking at the architecture one, and I'm almost positive that person has one that accepts.
Yes, so we are just going based off of what the actual results of the election were. So those people were write-ins, and at the time that I had written the legislation, they had not gotten back to us. So we're just I just wrote the legislation based off the information I had at the time. It's not that big a deal that the names are on there certifying them as election winners because they technically did win the seats. But yeah, that's why they're on there. Excellent question.
Alrighty. With that, I will seek any negative debate on Resolution 52.
Senator Blood has negative debate.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I just wanted to address why a few of us in ops decided to vote no on referring this favorably back to Student Senate. And you may remember a few weeks ago, a member of our body resigning, a long-term member, due to changing career paths and potentially leaving school and education. And when we passed the ability to only require 1 credit hour, we also added provisions that required said student senators to also have at least 1 credit hour, not just in that spring term, but also in the upcoming fall term. And so it was of my opinion and of that of a few members of the Senate Operations Committee that because said student senator was on this certified election form, but did not meet that credit hour requirement, that we were remiss in our duties to certify these elections for someone who would not be eligible to hold that seat, and therefore making the election results certification invalid anyway. And so because of that, I would strongly urge each and every one of you to vote no on this piece of legislation. Just passing and certifying legislation that violates our existing statutes and bylaws really doesn't sit well with me and shouldn't sit well with the processes of Student Senate. And so please vote no on this piece of legislation.
All right, I will now seek additional debate in the positive. Chair Porter.
Hello again. Just to respond to a couple of the previous speakers' concerns, I've said this several times, when I introduced this the first time. I think that, sorry, I can't remember how many times I've talked about this. Anyway, the people that are on this legislation are people that just straight up won a Senate seat. This doesn't guarantee that they're going to be sworn in as student senators on March 24th when the new term starts. This just means that they won a Senate seat. Additionally, in regards to the requirement for that you be enrolled in the spring, or sorry, be enrolled in both semesters of the term or the fall semester, I'm enrolling as a senior next semester, and my enrollment date isn't until the 28th. I think this is just because we moved the election date up so much, but as of right now, I think almost every single person at the entire university has not enrolled for the fall semester next year, so it would be really difficult to check for fall enrollment eligibility. So please don't take that into consideration when deciding to vote on this legislation that just certifies the results of the election. This by no means is the exact list of every single person that's going to become a student senator. These are just people that won the election. Thank you.
All right, with that, I will seek additional debate in the negative. Senator
I have a question.
Oh, yes. Please direct that at me.
How do I do that?
What's your question?
What are the real consequences if this fails?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
There are none. Can I have that mic?
Take that mic.
There are none. There's nowhere in any of our governing documents that says that like certified election results have to be what we base our sworn in senators off of. For example, there are a lot of people that are sworn in senators right now whose names weren't on last year's certification of elections because they were like those single vote write-in candidates that were like at the very bottom of the list. And as a result of them being at the very bottom of the list, their names weren't included on last year's legislation, but they are senators right now, and their names weren't on that legislation. Like, I don't think my name was on that bill last year. So it doesn't really matter if it fails, but I would really, 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 really prefer if it didn't.
Senator Glasscock.
So by what mechanism are the sworn-in senators chosen?
They're chosen based off of the election results.
Not this.
Yes, they're just chosen based off the election results. This is just a certification of those winners. It's something we're like legislatively required to do, but it doesn't. The bill is required to be passed, but there is no requirement that we base our like swearing in of senators off of the bill. We do it works out that way because we base it off of like the next highest vote getters, and the next highest vote getters are the people that are on the bill.
Senator Rook.
Okay, so this does nothing?
It does what we are legislatively required to do.
Is that something or is that nothing?
Up to you.
Okay.
Alrighty. So with that, I will seek debate in the negative on this resolution. Is there any additional debate in the positive on this resolution? Senator Booz.
Yeah, so I wanted to provide more context on what the actual portions of the statutes are that require this, and also why you should not be voting no at the very least. And so really, this is from our certification of elections section of the elections regulations. So that's section 01-0112, section A2. Submission to Student Senate. The Elections Commissioner shall submit the unofficial general election results to the Senate Operations Standing Committee. The Senate Operations Standing Committee shall author a resolution for submission to the Student Senate at the second regular meeting of the Student Senate following the general election. Races in which the Elections Commissioner does not believe the results are valid due to pending questions shall not be submitted by the above deadline. That obviously was not the case. And so what you are doing by voting no on this is you are saying that this election was not conducted in a valid way, that these candidates are not valid, which they are, and you are casting doubt on the entire legitimacy of the elections process when we have had that problem that our previous speaker has cited for multiple years. It's a constitutional requirement that you attend K-State for both semesters that you will be a student senator. That's actually in our Constitution, and I don't believe we added it when we changed it to 1 credit hour, although I may be mistaken about that part. I mean, either way, right? If you vote no, you're saying that this is an illegitimate election and that we should, and that we should not accept it. And I can't believe that people would do that in this body. This is obviously a correct election. It was run well. I would, stake my honor on that. And yeah, so please vote. At the very least, vote abstain. If you've got questions, do not vote no. Please don't. Thank you.
Thank you for your debate, Senator Booz. Is there any additional debate in the negative on this resolution? Is there any additional positive debate on this resolution? Last call for debate on Resolution 52. All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and move into a hand vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 52, please raise your hand at this time. All right, nays, same sign. All right, the yeses. I think we just got some Zoom lag. The yeses have it. Austin.
No.
That motion does require a second. Unless there is a second, that motion will die.
Second.
All right, so in order for that motion to be approved, we need 15 senators to agree. All those in favor of having a roll call vote, please raise your placard at this time. All right, we got 5 on Zoom. We have 7. That is not an 8. Still not 15. So that motion will die. Resolution 52 will carry. And with that, we are done with final action for the night for now, folks. So with that, Senator Heatherman.
I move to consider Resolution 51.
Second. All right, it has been moved and seconded to reconsider Resolution 51. I am going to send that out to you all right now. So you should be getting an email here really shortly about what we are reconsidering. So as soon as that happens, Hannah, I will hand the floor over to you for debate. People
And
in the,
there isn't an amendment on the floor yet, correct?
correct. This is the original legislation.
Great.
Let me know once you all out there get that email.
We got it. Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Email has been sent. Hannah, you have first rights to debate on reconsidering this legislation.
Great. So last Thursday evening, Trim, our treasurer, got word from Dr. King from the Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Inquiry, inquiring about their proposal elevating undergraduate research. So they indicated that they had received confirmation when they submitted their proposal, saying it went through and everything on Org Central. However, it never reached the SCTE committee. As to why that happened, it could have been a glitch, it could have been accidentally deleted by either party, etc. But the SCTE committee has decided to consider it. We'll talk about that later if this motion passes. But ideally, we can get this reconsidered to add our SCTE recommendations to the existing legislation so that it's all concise in the same piece of legislation for both historical purposes and also so that it doesn't get further lost in the future moving forward when we're considering their proposals. So that's all.
All right. Thank you very much for your debate, Hannah. Is there any debate in the negative on moving to reconsider Resolution 51? Senator Booz.
Yeah, well, I'm not debate. I have a question for the chair.
Yes.
What is the SCT committee's recommendation on this, or is that going to be amended after we reconsider?
Yes. So if this were to pass, there is a planned amendment to come forward from members of the SCTE committee. But right now, we are just, the motion on the floor is to reconsider. So basically, if this were to pass, it would be in final action and up for debate again. And again, we're expecting an amendment to be made to that, so some changes for the bill. All right, so I'll seek any negative debate on reconsidering Resolution 51. Any positive debate on reconsidering Resolution 51? And any debate at all? All right, seeing none, we'll move into a hand vote. All those in favor of reconsidering Resolution 51, please raise your hand at this time. All right, hands down. Nays, same sign. All right, with that, the yeas have it. Resolution 51 will be reconsidered. So with that, we move into final action on Resolution 51. The amendment has already, well, I'll need a motion for that amendment. Chair Salmon.
Yeah, I move to amend this legislation to whatever
Yes, second from anyone? All right. Email going out. You all will receive that amendment here shortly. And Ariana, I think you have it on the screen. If you go ahead and scroll down. So the amendment comes on line 61, and you'll see this here in just a minute. The OURCI, Elevating Undergraduate Research. This was originally, this application was not received, so it was recommended $0 by default. The recommendation by the committee is to give them $20,000, so it just adds that on line 61, updates that subtotal on line 62, and then updates that total on line 79. So essentially, we are just approving that proposal and just adding the necessary money in the various totals and sections, whatever the case may be. Does everyone have that amendment in your email?
Yes.
Awesome. Chair Solomon, you will have first rights to debate on that amendment.
All right. I think this is pretty simple. I think there's a couple reasons why you should vote yes on this. First, this was like our fault. This was like a processing error in like our systems and stuff like that. The individuals who filled out the form did so correctly, and we shouldn't punish them for something that happened on our end. Secondly, we have more than enough money to actually fund this organization to its fullest. I think we used like 2/3 of our funds, so we still have close to $200,000 left over in this year's budget. So $20,000 is not a lot in comparison, and so we should still fund them. And finally, they do good work. They really do help students achieve objectives when it comes to like research and like helping other students through that research. So I would recommend like funding them based on the fact that they do good work in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you for your debate, Chair Solomon. Is there any debate in the negative on the proposed amendment? Is there any additional positive debate on the proposed amendment? Last call for debate on the proposed amendment. All right, seeing none, we will move into a hand vote on that amendment. All those in favor of amending this legislation as follows, please raise your hand. All right, hands down, noes, same sign. The yeas have it, that motion will carry. This legislation has been amended, so we will now move back into final action on Resolution 51 as amended. So we are now voting on whether or not to approve the entire thing again. We have approved the amendment, now we just have to reapprove the legislation. So, does someone from the SCTE committee want to give a quick debate? Or you can yield the floor if you'd like to, whatever the case may be. Yeah, go for it, RJ.
I guess, yeah, that's fine. This is gonna be very brief.
Yeah, we approved that, which is wonderful. We approved this whenever we passed it last time. I would vote yes.
Thank you very much, RJ. Caucus Leader Vogelmore?
I just have a question of
Yeah.
privilege. Is it in order to hand vote on this in final action?
Yes, so all resolutions are by a hand vote, as per our Student Senate standing rules.
Very well. Thank you.
All right, is there any negative debate on Resolution 51? Any additional positive debate?
There's a quick negative debate on the Zoom.
Yes, and that is by Senator Insero. You have negative debate.
Yeah, so I just wanted to echo some of the concerns about the specific line, the esports program, and I recognize that that's not an athletics thing. Previous speaker last week kind of, I guess, sorry, I'm speaking off the cuff here, kind of clarified that it wasn't creating an esports team. The issue that I have is using tuition dollars to fund something that's recreational. You're paying for an opportunity to basically for students to have access to a gaming lab. And I think that that might go better under the Rex funding. That's really all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you for your debate, Senator Insero. I will now seek additional positive debate on this resolution. Chair Long.
He did it. He did not. I watched him.
Yeah, to echo a previous speaker's point about not funding recreational activities with student dollars, we just wrapped up sports club funding, which I would say is all recreational, which is paid with student dollars. So if we're doing that, I think esports is just fine as well.
Thank you for your debate, Chair Long. I will now seek debate in the negative on Resolution 51. Any additional debate in the positive on Resolution 51? And any debate at all on Resolution 51? All right, seeing none, we will move into a hand vote once again. All those in favor of approving Resolution 51, please raise your hand. Thank you. Hands down. Noes, same sign. All right. With that, the yeas have it. Resolution 51 will stand approved. So that will be, yeah, that's done. So with that, we will move into introduction of legislation for the night. And first up, we have Bill 92. Is there a motion to consider? Chair Porter.
I have a motion to special order.
So first, we'll need a motion to consider, but then we'll special order after. Chair Long.
I move to consider Bill 92. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Bill 92. Senator Booz.
I move to consider all bills in introduction this week.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to consider all pieces of legislation. Now, Chair Porter.
I move to special order Bills 92 and 93 and Resolution 54. Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to special order Bills 92, 93, and Resolution 54. That is a debatable motion, so Chair Porter, you will have first rights to debate on that. Also, special ordering, I know we don't do very often, but that means that this legislation will be both considered and voted upon in tonight's meeting. So Evan will speak to why.
Thank you, Blake. So it's really pretty simple. We have 3 things in introduction this week. All of them come to us from the Student Services Fee Committee, and all 3 of them are, in my opinion, things that we need to pass now because there's not enough time to wait and reintroduce them in the new term and have the new Student Services Fee Committee. We would have to wait until that committee got impaneled and vote on all of this again. So it makes the most sense to just special order all 3 pieces of legislation, so we can vote on them, introduce them and vote on them this week so that we can get these entities the amounts of money that we are getting them and that we can have our Spark money all moved around, which I know Max is going to touch on a little bit more later. Thank you, Max. That's it. Thank you.
All righty. Is there any debate in the negative on special ordering all 3 pieces of legislation tonight? Is there any additional positive debate on special ordering our legislation tonight? And last call for any debate on special ordering. All right, seeing none, we'll do another hand vote. All those in favor of special ordering our legislation tonight, please raise your hand at this time. All right, hands down, nays, same sign. All right, the yeas will carry with the 2/3 majority. So with that, all of our legislation will be special ordered tonight, meaning Bill 92 is now up in final action. So if Max, or if you want to both introduce and debate it, you are welcome to.
Indeed, I would. Thank you all. For introduction, I did just want to say, 1 point of pride and 1 point of disappointment. That whole little back and forth, the most efficiently done par law stuff, just right back and forth. This is an end of term Senate in their prime. You all are amazing. It's sad. We have to start over with new people. Just uncertify the election and you all can keep your seats, right? And then, unfortunately, yes. So I will introduce all of these, and then so I'll introduce them and then provide any extra context. So this first one up, 92, is the decrease of Campus Entertainment Fund. And so Campus Entertainment Fund is a subset of money that is managed by UPC, the Union Program Council, and the Union Governing Board. Matter of fact, they also have control. They're one of the approvals that are required to spend this money. And this is the money that is used to bring major entertainment events to campus. Major events is defined in the contract as an event with an artist performance fee greater than or equal to 20,000. And you can see in the whereas clause the outlines there. Actually, I haven't been allowed to summarize.
Well, but you're debating, right?
Am I debating or am I introducing?
That's a good point, actually. If it's in final action.
My preference would have been, it doesn't matter, but yeah, introduce and then we special order it. Doesn't matter. My bad. Go ahead and continue your debate. Yep. End of Senate in their prime. Whereas CEF is managed by Union Program Council, they provide additional funding for major campus entertainment events, but they also remove the financial risk of those major events from the K-State Student Union. They keep K-State's programming dollars on par with regional institutions, and they have previously brought such notable names as Seth Meyers, Nick Jonas, Bill Nye, Lindsey Sterling, Kevin Hart, and many others to perform for K-State students and the Manhattan community. If you didn't know, now you know. They were extensively reviewed for their utilization, financial situation, and budget reduction scenarios. And then the standard whereas lines about the current state of the budget and the deficit. The proposed reductions, they offered these impacts. These were, CEF was presented jointly with UPC by Audrey and then the student executive team on UPC CEF. And then their proposals with this reduction, which is a 15% flat reduction for Campus Entertainment Fund, produces the following potential impacts. Shifting in recent years, the normal strategy for CEF funds has been to try and bring 2 events to campus, 1 per each semester, and that was actually legislated in the contract. Their proposal was to reduce that to 1 event, but really make it a big event. In the past couple of years, partially due to the pandemic and also partially due to trying to make sure we bring 1 event per semester. Obviously, we haven't had some as big names like Kevin Hart and Seth Meyers and some of those big names everyone really reacted to. And so the goal is to try and reduce that to 1 event per year, but really make it a really memorable name. These are the kinds of events that don't perform in Forum Hall. This is where we get Bramlage involved. So that is what was proposed, a 15% flat decrease. And also as part of their request to accommodate that, they requested the removal of the contract stipulation that those major events be held each academic semester. A proposal that the committee agreed to and felt would better allow CEF dollars to be put to effective use by UPC. And whereas the Student Services Fee Committee voted 8-0 to recommend to Student Senate the following Student Services Fee Agreement. So that was kind of the mix and initial debate just in terms of providing you all the context, what the decision was, how that was made. UPC and CEF, we commend them in the UPC bill, but they came in with extremely well-defined proposals for the committee and had a wonderful presentation, mostly led by the student leaders of UPC. And so really high-quality presentation that we found really useful to make decisions based off of. They provided us all the pie charts, multiple scenarios, and went straight for what they were able to sustain maximally and share their part in making budget reductions while also being effective uses of student dollars.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your debate, Chair Harmon. Really quick, Senator Schindler, do you have a question or is your hand still up from the voting? Copy
that. Was an accident.
No, you're totally good. Just wanted to make sure. I will give the opportunity for any questions since we had a weird introduction debate situation. Senator Booz.
Yeah, and that may have ended up being better. We cut this during ops on 90 on both of these bills, excuse me. But at the very end of them, it says the executive director of, and then doesn't have a position. Is that the union or someone else? Then either way, we've got to add it.
That's yeah, that's the entity director. That's UPC. So that is Audrey Taggart-Cactus.
Okay.
We will get that added in. Thank you.
Which line is that on?
That's 124 in 92. And then that's 104 in 93.
Gee dang.
All right, got that. Thank you very much. I will now seek debate in the negative on Bill 92. Is there any additional positive debate on Bill 92? Any debate at all for Bill 92? Seeing none, we will move Senator Scharnhorst.
I move to bulk roll call bills 92, 93, and resolution 51.
Second. Resolution 51 does just require a hand vote.
Never mind, on the last one.
Gotcha. So the motion has been made to bulk roll call bills 92 and 93. It was properly seconded. Are there any objections to that bulk roll call? Seeing none, they will be bulk roll called. Chair Harmon, you now have first rights to introduce and debate Bill 93.
Thank you. Okay. Union Program Council. So whereas Student Services Fee reviewed the allocation request of Union Program Council in accordance with their regularly scheduled review, whereas UPC strives to provide educational, cultural, and social experiences for students and the K-State community and seeks to develop leaders and enhance the quality of student life through inclusive programming. Whereas Student Services Fee extensively reviewed the utilization, financial situation, and budget reduction scenarios of UPC. Whereas the committee wants to express recognition and appreciation for UPC's extremely well-executed presentation, clear and reasonable proposals, and forward thinking, as well as the work they have done already to consolidate and optimize their use of student dollars. Whereas enrollment decline has continued and accelerated, leading to significant declines in fee collections approximating $2 million, and there's no reason to predict that this decline will reverse in the near future. Whereas Kansas Board of Regents has communicated an intended moratorium on tuition and fee increases, and thus entity decreases are necessary in alleviating the ongoing shortfalls in the overall fee budget. Whereas at the proposed reductions, UPC leadership has offered these impacts as potential cost reduction measures. After hours not being mandated to budget $59,000, nor required to program weekly. Consolidate the films, music, and arts committees. Eliminate weekly film programming, potential loss of graduate assistant positions. Whereas UPC's fiscal year 2022 original allocation was $200,807, and the proposed decreases constitute a 5, 10, and 15% budget decrease off that original for fiscal years 23, 24, and 2025. Whereas these amounts were proposed and agreed to by UPC leadership. Whereas, in order to accommodate consolidations and budget decreases, UPC also requested the removal of the contract stipulation that after-hours events be held every Friday evening while classes are in session, a proposal the committee agreed to and felt would better allow student dollars to be put to efficient use by UPC. And whereas Student Services Fee voted 8-0 to recommend to students submit the following Student Services Fee Agreement. Follows being enacted at this budget contract that has those amounts, as well as it differs from the previous contract in that it strikes the requirement for after-hours programming every Friday night and the minimum amount of money allocated to it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Senator Booz.
Yeah, if they're eliminating weekly film programming, did they say anything about like doing that less frequently or just eliminating it altogether?
Excellent question. So yes, one of the things that they have already done a little bit and are going to do in the future is working to consolidate some of those subcommittees, those ones listed there being films, music, and art. What they talked about, we asked about that, and they mentioned how the cost per student to get the rental on those films has really just increasingly gone up because just people, it's so much easier to stream movies in the comfort of your own home now. And people just really aren't coming to Forum Hall, unfortunately, to get that theater experience. And so while unfortunate, they felt that they'll still probably do some of that, but definitely work it back a little bit and put those funds to more efficient use elsewhere.
Any further questions out there? All right, seeing none, go ahead with debate.
Okay, so perfect question. That was one of the things we asked about, one of those impacts being an example of some of those use changes that UPC is doing in the future to reduce that. They've also talked a lot about some of the other things they're doing they've begun doing a lot more like co-sponsoring of events with student organizations around campus, which is super cool. It gets them a lot more people at their events, as well as a good use in like working with students. Some of those other things, working with and like co-sponsoring events with McCain. They brought in a performer. UPC puts on smaller events and performances as part of what they do, smaller than using the CEF money. But that's some of the stuff that they're doing. But they were pretty upfront in saying that at the end of giving them time to like adjust down and consolidate that and make this reduction in a stepwise way was going to be best for them. And at the end, that 15% was really kind of the most they felt they could sustain while keeping a lot of their programming going. And they have shown some pretty good work in terms of coming back from the pandemic and being pretty innovative in getting student utilization back and providing some of that programming. So UPC is definitely, I think, one of the most visible student services fee entities that students pretty like recognize a little bit as being like student dollars being spent on programming. They don't always know that like, oh yeah, the rec isn't funded by central admin, it's funded by students. But UPC has lots of posters and flyers all over. So they've done a really good job in making those changes that the committee has been really kind of eagle-eyed to see this year, changes coming out of the pandemic and changes to reflect reduced budgets and kind of really streamlining things. And so they deserve a heck of a lot of commendation, and the committee feels good at that 5, 10, 15% decrease, which is significant. That is, I mean, yeah, still in the order of magnitude of numbers that we aren't ever used to seeing in normal years. But they've been able to shift things around and offered that basically right off the bat. That was in their first presentation. They had one of a couple scenarios. Their first scenario, in full transparency, was they have a set of reserves. Their first scenario was basically a budget continuance, but here we take back a lot of those reserves. The committee definitely felt and knew that one-time reserve callbacks doesn't really help the long-term issue, which is that contracts of money going out year over year. And so we elected to leave all of those reserves and allow them to use that to kind of buffer the impacts of that 5, 10, 15% budget decrease and allow them that, but we decreased the total allocation in the long run, which was the main goal that the committee had this year.
All right, thank you for your debate, Chair Harmon. Is there any debate in the negative on this bill? Is there any additional positive debate on Bill 93? Last call for debate on Bill 93. Seeing none, we will move into a bulk roll call. Oh, yes, go ahead.
While we're bulking them, I'm so sorry. This is probably, I meant to mention this. This is actually for Bill 92, but I don't want to miss this. One other thing that we changed in the CEF, relatively small, but the committee discussed and approved a change within the contract governing their reserves and their overflow. They have some relatively significant reserves that we did not call back, but especially moving towards the one event per year system, the committee definitely saw the potential in the future for those reserves to kind of fly under the radar and not really be used, or at least not seen in each review. And that's kind of a best practice that I'll be passing on to the next student services fee chair, is to implement more changes like this, which sets up just a reserve account for those CEF funds, especially since they're really used for a really explicit use, kind of like once per year. At the end of each year, we put in new clauses in the CEF contract stating that at the end of each fiscal year, those funds will close out and move into a specific reserve. That's very much in practice with lots of other things we do, sports club reserve, ACT reserve, stuff like that. Those funds are completely able to be accessible. We outline the mechanism on how to access that, and it's exactly the same as using normal CEF funds. It doesn't require extra work or approval from Student Senate. And so that's just, it's really more for visibility than anything. And the previous contract capped their total account at $500,000. So their normal operating account could never get above $500,000. That was pretty large to the committee, and they wanted to work that down. The average cost for one of these like major events was $1 to $120,000 for a really, really like big event. And so we felt about 2 years worth of those events was an appropriate number to cap those reserves at. So we put a cap of $200,000 on the CEF reserve, and anything that flows over that gets deposited back to the student services fee debt reduction account, which is just the overflow surplus initial account for the student services fee.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Max. I will seek any debate at all on bills 92 or 93. All right. With that, we will move into a bulk roll call vote.
Alrighty, thanks so much, Blake. Bain.
Yes to all the things.
Perfect. Bannister.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes to both.
Bellamy.
Yes to both.
Binkley. Blood.
Yes.
Booze.
Yes to both.
Byrne. Kahlo. Compton.
Yes to both.
Cranford. DeMott.
Yes, both.
Doc.
Yes to all.
Dunlap. And Cerro. Esslinger. Fields.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Fuss. Gann. Glasscock.
Yes to both.
Heatherman.
Yes to both.
Holland.
Yes to both.
Hotzel.
Yes to both.
Jambunathan.
Yes to both.
Colorikiol.
Yes to both, by proxy.
Kid.
Yes to both.
Koch.
Yes to both.
Kramer. Lister. Long.
Yes to both.
Lynn. Marquez. Mayor. McPhee.
Yes to both.
Nelson. Pineda Gomez. Pundillo.
Yes to both.
Porter.
Yes to both.
Prester.
Yes to both.
Richenberg.
Yeah.
Riffle.
Yes to both.
Rook.
Yes to both.
Roth.
Yes to both.
Salmon.
Yes to both.
Scharnhorst.
Yes to each.
Shear.
Yes to both.
Schindler.
Yes to both.
Fleekle.
Yes to both.
Stout.
Yes to both.
Sitzma.
Yes to both.
Thomas.
Yes to both.
Volgamore.
Why, yes to both.
Wallace. Warren.
Yes to both.
Willis Jackson.
Yes to both.
And Willis Reese. Alrighty. On a vote of 42 to 0, bills 92 and 93 pass.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. With that, we'll move to Resolution 54, which has been considered. So we'll go ahead and move into introduction and then debate on Resolution 54.
You all are so close. Hang in. Resolution 21-22-54. This is a transfer of Lafine bond surplus funds for calendar year 2022 COVID-19 test kits, authored by myself and sponsored by Michael Dowd and Blake Phillips. Yep, cool. Whereas in fiscal year 21, Lafine Health Center received up to $2.2 million in Spark federal funding to defray additional costs of the COVID-19 pandemic that were restricted for use within calendar year 2020. Whereas Lafine entered into a contract with Abbott Laboratories to purchase 50,000 Abbott ID test kits in the fall of 2020. Whereas after entering into the contract, the supplier of the Abbott ID tests was no longer able to provide 50,000 tests in the fall of 2020, requiring further kits to be purchased in the future months of calendar year 21. To utilize all COVID-19 funding, Central Administration advised Lafine Health Center to reallocate Spark funds to pay for pandemic-related salary expenses in the fall 2020 semester. Whereas Bill 2021-14, the Fall 2020 Insufficient Funds Bill, added the clause to the Student Health Privilege Fee contract that for fiscal year 2021 of this agreement, which would have been fall 2020, spring 21 calendar years, Student Health will return any funds equivalent to the amount of COVID-19 relief dollars in excess of $500,000 that Student Health receives. The student body president, Speaker of the Student Senate, Privilege Fee Committee Chair, Vice President for Student Life, and the Chief Financial Officer will jointly determine how to best utilize those funds for the university with first priority to offset revenue losses to the bond surplus fund. Whereas, due to the clause, student services fee funds in excess of $500,000 at the time, sorry, that's a mistake. Those were privilege fee funds. You thought you never would hear from priv fee again. Priv fee funds in excess of $500,000 that were saved thanks to the Spark funding were returned to an SSF bond surplus account in the amount of $1,674,242.19 to be allocated as prioritized at the joint discretion of the leaders outlined in the clause. Whereas Lafine was at that time still contractually obligated to pay for COVID-19 test kits past the end of FY21, and the needs of COVID-19 testing continued. Whereas Resolution 2021-43 detailed the decision of the student body president, Speaker of the Student Senate, Privilege Fee Committee Chair, Vice President for Student Life, and Chief Financial Officer to authorize the use of bond surplus funds for COVID-19 test kit ordering until the end of calendar year 21, as needed by Lafine Health Center, but not to exceed the total amount returned at the end of FY21 by Lafine. Whereas a total of $326,856.10 was withdrawn to order test kits in that time frame, leaving a current balance of $1,347,386.09. Whereas the en bloc approval of Lafine bond surplus withdrawal requests granted by Resolution 2021-43 expired at the end of calendar year 21. Whereas during the regular review of the Student Services fee allocation, Lafine Health Center requested and was approved the use of $393,600 to backfill costs of additionally ordered COVID-19 test kits, which were ordered in January 2022 to extend the expiration date of the new test kits. Whereas this resolution executes that transfer, but does not extend the en bloc approval for further transfers. Whereas the original priority use of the Lafine bond surplus funds was outlined to be used for the offsetting of revenue losses from the student services fee, whereas due to the increasing availability of sources for COVID-19 testing and declining rate of the pandemic, additional allocations from bond surplus for COVID-19 test kit use should be on a request basis and subject to the approval of Student Senate. And whereas should circumstances arise requiring high priority use of bond surplus funds for COVID-19 related costs, multiple mechanisms are currently in place which enable Lafine Health Center to request such funds, including one-time budget enhancement requests via the Student Services Fee Chair and Committee, as outlined in SGA Statutes 30.02.05, and the regular process for use of bond surplus funds initiated by the Chief Financial Officer, outlined in SGA Statutes 30-07. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State Student Governing Association, KSU-SGA, recommends and approves $393,600 to be transferred from the Student Services Fee Bond Surplus account to Lafine Health Center to offset costs of COVID-19 test kits. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, these funds shall be transferred from that account number to the other account number, with a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Lafine Health Center Director Jim Parker, Lafine Health Center Associate Director Shecky Davis, Chief Financial Officer Ethan Erickson, Assistant Vice President for the Division of Financial Services Fran Willebrandt, Fiscal Analyst Jennifer Owensby, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students Dr. Thomas Lane, and University President Dr. Richard Blinton.
All right, are there any questions or corrections for the author, Senator Booz?
I don't know how we didn't catch this, but line 75 needs university, and Dr. Lane is the Dean of Students, not one student.
Dang it. This is a fun game we play, you and I, Ops.
Yeah. Senator Booz, another?
I actually have a question.
Got it.
As well. So these are not in the standard bond surplus account, right? That account number doesn't look familiar.
Correct. Wow, that's astute. Good job. Correct. The decision was made, like technically the original clause, it's like a sub-account of bond surplus. We did put that in a specific account just to make that much easier on the fiscal analyst side to track the balance of that. But from here on out, that will remain until such time as like it needs, like, we're good and done with it, like it's closed out. But should anything arise, it basically will eventually and can be treated as rolling into bond surplus, which was the original intention of that clause that recouped that money.
Right.
It's just in a separate account purely to keep it separate in the case of needing to withdraw from it, but it's treated exactly as bond surplus funds from here on out.
Okay, that sounds good.
Max,
Yes.
this is Jen, I almost said Proofy, Student Services Fee Advisor.
The magic angel.
Another thing is Lafine has a specific state fund. It's 4410, and we're not, by statute, we're not allowed, or there's specific times where we're allowed to cross state funds. So that's yet another reason why we had to keep these funds kind of segmented. So there's a dual purpose to that.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Chair Long.
Just make sure the Fiend operates off a fiscal year budget, but we buy test kits off of a calendar year budget.
Excellent question. Not necessarily us. The requirements of the Spark funding, federal government dollars that were granted to them, had clauses restricting them to a certain calendar year. That's why that was made that way. Yep. Blame the federal government.
Any further questions out there? All right. Seeing none, Max, I will give you first rights to debate.
Thank you all so much. We've done a lot of work this year, Student Senate. I say, without a hesitation, this might be one of my proudest pieces of legislation. This was, as you can tell, crafting this was a very intentional work done throughout a number of hours. The paper trail on what the actual story was with what these funds were, what transferred them, and what the rules were that applied to this was kind of a nightmare, but we got it. And so, yeah, I had found all of the bills, the clauses, the resolutions that governed when this money was moved at what time, for what purposes, and governed by what reasons. And so very, very proud of that, and synthesized this resolution. And technically, I didn't need to include all of the whereas clauses above a certain line, but I wanted to make sure we had one place that kind of took all of these various bits and synthesized them into one continuous narrative. So I hope that reading through those whereas clauses did that pretty intentionally instead of wanting to summarize, because that should provide you all with an overall narrative on what these funds were, how they got transferred out, and what they are now, and the rules governing them going forward. So this is, going forward, the main changes to this that is actually enacted by this resolution is a transfer of some of that money. Pretty cut and dry that way. But it was debated whether or not to make this resolution a repeat of the one that extended Lafine's ability to continue to request those funds through the end of a certain date. And so Michael, Blake, and I had the discussion about whether or not to do that. And one of the thoughts behind that, mainly outlined in those whereas clauses, but especially with decline in the need to reduce those funds, we wanted to make it very clear that due to that clause in the original contract, all of that money was pure excess. That was gifted, federal dollars were used. Lafine didn't have to pay salaries with student services fee money that year. And so there was a huge surplus that the folks who were leading in the battle lines in the middle of the pandemic and dealing with the first insufficient funds process and all of that work were very, very savvy and astute in making sure that any of that surplus was rightfully returned to students, with first priority on eliminating the big hazards for the deficit in bond surplus and the huge reductions that we made. That first year, we pulled $2 million out of bond surplus. And so first priority for this surplus was to go towards using that. And so that was a lot of the main philosophy behind making sure that this money remained within the control of Student Senate, and relatively, had to go through a number of approvals, at least going into the future until such time as that needs to change. And so What this is doing is just a simple transfer, but hopefully it will be one of the last of such transfers. And going forward, that cost of testing will continue to reduce. The amount of testing that they'll be required to be doing will reduce, and that will kind of be absorbed into the normal operational costs of Lafine. And hopefully, if this is truly, it is my hope that this is the last transfer of that bond surplus money that we should hopefully need to make to Lafine. If we need to make more, we have this resolution as our template on what to do and how to do it. But going forward, hopefully, that money should go back to bond surplus and go back towards reducing the huge deficits that we've had in the past couple of years. And so we pulled $2 million the first year and pulled about another less than $1 million again with our insufficient funds callbacks this fall. And so this goes a long way towards alleviating some of that. So if you use that, if you count in this money and use that to fill in the deficit that we had this year and going forward, then we're actually we're doing all right in terms of the decisions made this year and making sure we're not running deficits overall going into the future. So please ask any questions. If you have any debate, I would love to fill you all in, but hopefully that narrative provides an overall timeline on what the money is and what happens to it and what will happen with it going forward. And our philosophy as the student leaders of the group tasked with managing that money on how to do that going forward. And it's really cool. Our current statutes outline 2 processes where both Lafine can instigate a request for that money through their normal one-time budget enhancement allocation, or should central administration feel like those funds are better used to fulfill COVID-19 costs. That's a discussion had by the 5 leaders outlined in that clause. And if needed, the CFO can introduce a ball rolling legislatively to make that happen with use of bond surplus. But at the end of the day, all of those decisions still go through Student Senate, which I think personally is still very important.
Thank you for your debate, Max. Is there any debate in the negative on this resolution? Is there any additional debate in the positive on this resolution? Is there any additional debate at all on this resolution? Seeing none, we will now move into a hand vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 54, please raise your hand at this time. Thank you very much. Noes, same sign. And we will call that a majority. So with that, Resolution 54 will pass. And with that, we are done with our legislation, not only for the night, but for the term. Big shout out to everyone there. With that, we will go ahead and move into second open period for the night. Are there any speakers for second open period?
Koger on Zoom.
Go ahead, Vice President Koger.
Hey folks, how do you all do? I'm not going to take a whole bunch of your time tonight. I just wanted to really give a little speech to talk about how much SGA has meant to me over the years, and not just me individually, but the body as a whole. So I'm kind of just going to begin by sharing how I got started in SGA. You know, I didn't anything my first semester at K-State. All I did was prank people in my floor haymaker and, you know, light myself on fire and go to football games in a Speedo. Like, I did not have any constructive path. And I came back after my first semester at K-State and I said, I really need to get involved in something. And I saw student government, senator, like you can apply and run. And I said, I was in student council. That was the best decision I ever made at K-State. So the one thing that I really wanted to do when I got involved in student government, I was always pissed off because, for one, I'm poor. I didn't grow up with money, and so I always wanted to find out why I was paying so much in the privilege fee at the time, now the student services fee. And then also, for my first year within student government, I really didn't understand how parliamentary procedures worked or how Senate was operated. And I also had this feeling that, you know, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm never going to be the smartest person in the room. There's a body of 60 senators and 59 of them are smarter than me. Why should I be able to go up and talk? I think really the message I'm going to try and construe in this speech, and I don't have any notes. This is all off the cranium, and I'm running on an hour of sleep, and I'm in Baton Rouge. I don't know where the hell I am. But I think the message I really want to construe, and I've really been intentional in the last couple months in saying, if you're in that body and you're sitting there and you're really struggling to figure out where your place is in these conversations, just know that unique voices coming up and giving their perspective, or even if you aren't going up and debating, but being willing to talk to people outside of the Senate meeting, they carry a lot of weight. And the work that we do in student government is so important. You're bestowed with a unique opportunity to affect students that 99.99% of other institutions don't have that opportunity. And 99.9% of students at K-State aren't taking advantage of this opportunity. So being in this room, it means something. And you can, I really believe you can accomplish a lot. Going back to me not being smart, big point. I think where I really found my niche within Student Senate and SGA as a whole is finding ways to leverage what I care a lot about. And for one, that's making others feel good about themselves, but also I love sports. So I know that there's people in there that love sports and could write accommodations or just little things. Just find ways to contribute. And then I guess I was like giving little shout outs to people. I suppose at some point I should probably mention how important the people that I'm jumping forward, becoming elected. For one, campaign race against Vedant and Maggie. Like I was very, very blessed to be a part of a race where it was no losers. We knew that it was there for the betterment of K-State, and so that was awesome. But to win that race and then be able to work with Maggie and hit the ground running and know that there's no dismay, there's no bad blood between us, and we just care about students. And then, you know, I didn't know Michael. I guess I'll share this going back a little bit. I didn't really know Michael when he approached me and asked to run. And I really haven't shared this with many people. I didn't know that I was going to be vice president at the time. And so like I had like embarrassment, like, am I, because I'd always thought I'd be student body president. And so like, I don't know, you can learn a lot through adversity. You can learn a lot through like things not going the way that you initially planned. You can learn a lot from everything. But yeah, working with Michael was able to help organize someone that doesn't have a like controlled thought in his brain. Like my brain is, I don't even know what it is, but it's all over the place. And so he's a special individual. And then there's just so many people within the body where, you know, I don't know. I'm wrapping this up because I'm not coherent right now. But I challenge each and every one of you to find someone unique within the body that you don't normally talk to. Reach out to them and, you know, have conversations about what they care about, why they're involved in student government. And then also as you start the next term, really, really sit with someone new. Offer a ride home to someone. Go to Buffalo Wild Wings after Senate with people. Give someone a wet willy in the hallway. I don't care. Just, break the circles that exist because we're a better organization as a whole when we reach our arms out. I want to say I love you guys. I've loved working with you all. It's been the privilege of a lifetime. Go student government. Nick, you better not be smiling up there. You what a turd. You guys have a great night. I'll be back next week. I'll shake some hands, and I have a bunch of notes I want to give to you guys because I've truly loved working with you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Peace out. Yes, guys.
All right. Are there any further speakers tonight for second open period? Senator Boost.
So I went back a while, like a couple of days ago, and watched some of the speeches from earlier years, and I found out, remembered again that I actually, on behalf of my intern class, came up here at the last Senate of the Student Senate and said thank you to the intern coordinators for being the SGA mom and dad and that sort of thing. And at the end of my career, I have a big speech. You might hear it later. You might not, depending on if you're at the right place. But really, what I do want to say is it's been an absolute honor to work with everyone who I've worked with. And there's a whole bunch of people who aren't here. There's some people from my intern class that are still here. And then there's a whole lot of people who are newer than me anyway. And it's, no matter how early it is, it's been an honor to work with you all, and it's been a pleasure to work with you all. And I hope, that every senior who's graduating can say the same. And, if I can if I can say that on behalf of the seniors so we don't have a giant parade of speeches, I will. So thank you all.
Are there any further speakers tonight for second open period? All right. I have a quick one before we get to Senate shoutouts. Sorry about that. I just wanted to take the opportunity. I know that this is our last time together as a 2021-2022 body, and I'll be back next year, so this isn't a senior speech by any means, but I just wanted to give a quick little note. I really appreciate the opportunity to be your speaker this year. I hope that you've enjoyed this experience as much as I have, and I've really appreciated getting to work with you all in this opportunity. So thank you all very much for that. I'll see you all next year if you'll still be here, but I wanted to take a moment to thank you all before we head out for the night. So we'll get to Senate shoutouts.
Thanks so much, Blake. Okay. Nick, you better get this commendation to the President of the Czech Republic. Shout out to the graduate senators for taking time out of their busy schedules to make a difference and have their voices heard. Shout out to Ops for Committee of the Year. Shout out last Senate for us seniors. Shout out to all of us. I'm going to miss everyone. Jackson Willis is the GOAT. Love you so much. Oh, no. Stop that. Okay, shout out to Awkward Silence. Shout out to Maggie K. Billman, God Among Us. Shout out to all of the award winners. This one just says yeehaw. I think there are a couple of those. To my favorite committee, thank you for all the hard work. I'll miss seeing you all every Tuesday. Evan Porter, you make my Senate experience so much fun. Thank you for your friendship. Marta, you're such a girl boss. You inspire me every day. Lily Colburn, your speech a few meetings ago really inspired me to be much more thoughtful when it comes to trash versus recycling. So thank you.
Zero waste.
Shout out to winning and losing elections. Andrew Booz is an SGA legend. You will be missed in the future. 2 Bill 69. Nice. SGA relationships this year. Hashtag interbranch collaboration. Booz, your smile makes me smile. Stay golden, king. Max Harmon is the GOAT of all goats. Caleb Stout and Ben Roth are a dangerous duo in the back row. Bryson Warren, several question marks, marry me, all caps. Boozemeister, Shout out to the Gus bus. Blake Phillips is living proof. Gus equals king. Shout out to Bruce Weber for being Bruce Weber. Michael Dowd, that's my president. Jeffrey Allen Ebeck, that's it. That's the tweet. New basketball coach, exclamation point. Ethan Brown is that dude. Shout out to Nick for being bad at math. Shout out to Ben Roth. Fella is all party in the back, and I am so here for it. Cannot wait for Marissa Lux's senior speech. Shout out to Cameron's snake analogy, gone but never forgotten. Shout out to an almost tie. Shout out to Drew for getting today's Wordle. Dear Diary, I can sit here and listen to Max debate all night. So charming, so intelligent. Skip. Such a fun, fresh, and quirky meeting tonight. Peace, love, SGA. Shout out to Drew for using Firefox instead of Chrome. Shout out to Tanner Koch for his wonderful purple jacket. Shout out to approving the senators. Shout out to Andrew's honor. I love Senate, to keeping things very brief. To Blake for always ignoring Chair Lynn's placard. Shout out to William Nye. Shout out so much thanks to Nick, Blake, and Ariana for all of your hard work this year. Senate is the best branch. Good job with all of those entities, Max. Shout out to the random laughing. I am going to the library after all of this. Yes to all of the things, said a lost Senator Bain. Shout out to the 19 cents. Shout out to the energy in the Senate. Shout out to all of the shout out to Booze for not letting Max slip a different account number past you. Sorry for laughing so much, Max. Shout out to Shout out to Max. Shout out to Cameron Koger for not checking the chat that he's sending messages to. Yeehaw to all. Shout out to Max Harmon for being the only one who cares enough. Shout out to Pizza. Shout out for the most unhinged half hour of Senate we have ever had. Shout out to Cameron Koger for being the best person I know. Max. Sorry for the suspense. Max, I'm sorry. We tried to pay attention at the end. Shout out to Cameron's Cranium and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Thank you all for everything you do. Your impact doesn't go unnoticed. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. I will cherish these moments with this body for the rest of my life. As a guaranteed one-term senator, Cameron was one of the first people to make me feel really welcome in this body and helped everything up so much for me. Andrew, will you tell us what the right place is to beat the night? And finally, I love you, SGA.
Alrighty, folks, I don't need to know if you all are here or not. So with that, I will now seek a motion for adjournment. Chair Porter.
I move to adjourn for the final time.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to adjourn the 2021-2022 SGA term. Are there any objections? We will now stand adjourned. With that, thank you all very much. Have a great night. Drive home safe.